Hey, what's up, guys? Ace Player here, and welcome back to the Ace Plays podcast. It's the only place with an ace in a podcast. Something just happened recently, and I kind of wanted to talk about it because this impacts me and probably you too. Stick War Legacy and Stick War 3 and many other games are made on the Unity engine. It's a very robust and useful tool for a lot of game developers, indie and big alike. However, recently they just tried to pull a little sneaky, and by sneaky I mean it was more of a declaration of war on their own developers. Instead of their current model, where you just pay them a license and maybe give them a percentage of your earnings, like a reasonable request, they've now decided to charge you for every single player who installs your game. Now, this is terrible news for any game that is free or like a demo or maybe in a charity bundle or pretty much anything. If your game is not heavily monetized and you succeed, in theory, you can get bankrupt by Unity for making a game. Now, this has terrible repercussions for the industry as a whole, but in particular, this can really fuck over mobile games that are made in Unity, such as Stick War Legacy and Stick War 3. Game developers that are tied to Unity can't really just abandon ship and, port all their stuff to a new engine lickety split. It actually takes a lot of time to do something like that, especially if it's a different coding language. And the developers have been learning Unity for all these years. So they pretty much have two options at this point, which is either A, let Unity pilfer your coffers, or B, abandon ship and go somewhere else. Now, it's not like, they're going to charge you retroactively for all the installs that already happened, but basically at the start of next year, that's going to happen. You get charged for every install. If this sounds like it's not a good system, you would be correct. Many were quick to point out that this is a very easily exploitable thing. Say, for example, if you hated a company, or you thought a particular update was really stinky, you could just uninstall and reinstall the game over and over again, and in theory, cost the developers money. Not to mention, what would even happen if someone pirated a game? What technology are they even using to tell that you're opening the game? Are they pinging their server every single time? Does this mean game preservation is screwed if the servers go offline one day? So many questions and no answers, and every Unity developer right now is fuming and considering swapping over to another engine. Now, this sucks for me in particular because my college degree focused on, using Unity for quite a few of the classes, and I've basically been forged in the path of Unity. Now I'm kind of at a crossroads, and I even had, a little game I was working on in Unity. I might not want to keep working on it there anymore, because if it's not, full of microtransactions, I'm not going to be able to keep it on the App Store. Many developers are already considering hopping on over to Unreal Engine 5, which has, been all the rage recently. Games like Fortnite and Valorant are made on Unreal Engine 5. But also a Godot engine, which is a bit of a new kid on the block, and he's pulling up. Personally, I, as a kid, was making games in GameMaker Studio, but I think it was just called GameMaker 8 at the time. I had a lot of fun doing that, but the point is there's so many options other than Unity, but Unity really was considered, one of the de facto standards. It's kind of like the Apple of game development, if you will. It's a really big engine that does way too many things, and you probably only need to use 1% of what's in there, but developers trusted it and they really enjoyed using it. And this is just, a big betrayal, a big stab in the back. This has undone a lot of goodwill. And even if they reverse the change or anything like that, it's going to be hard to convince developers who, hate the company now that they could be trusted again, especially since Unity has been known for doing other things, catching flack, and, pursuing with it anyway. For example, a while ago, they actually acquired a malware company, which, some of that tech's probably how they're going to be able to tell who's opening your game. They're probably putting like malware in there, pretty much, just to, triple dip and squeeze out a little bit more of those profits. This is pretty disappointing as a Unity developer myself. I can't imagine how other developers, such as the Stickward developers, are feeling, especially since their new project rests entirely on Unity and the framework that they have been excited to use for multiplayer is also on Unity. As for myself, I think it's probably a good time to start learning a new game engine. At the very least, it would be nice to put it on the resume and portfolio, but I can't really wait for Unity to reverse this change and promise sweet lies to me that they won't pull something like this again. There's a lot of open source software, and you don't have to give a company your money just because they demand it, is the moral of the story, I guess. But what do you guys think about this kind of thing? This is a really big bait and switch, At the end of the day, they have a fiduciary responsibility to make the most money possible, so I can't really trust that company to hook the developers up. What I can't expect them to do is nickel and dime everyone for everything they're worth. I just can't believe they did it like this. Along with this change, they also fizzled out the medium tier that was like a reasonable price, so you can either be a free indie developer or pay the exorbitant like company price, which, another awesome change. Software as a service is really susceptible to this kind of stuff. So I want you guys to be on the lookout for, anything that you use that is like this and just can be retroactively rug pulled from you without you even knowing. This can happen in games, software, literally anything. So it's a good example of why we should not put all our eggs in one basket. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about this a little bit because, it affects me personally and people that I know personally, but also just my industry that I want to get into as a whole. And all I can say is that I'm kind of glad that I didn't get too far in the game that I was making in Unity so that I could try porting it elsewhere and not feeling like I lost a bunch of time. Unreal Engine 5 is looking better by the day, and I think that might be my next pit stop. But Godot is an interesting choice as well. Let me know what you guys think of this bait and switch pulled by a big company that a lot of people rely on. Do you think they'll get the big bucks out of this, or is this going to backfire on them in the long run? I'd love to know your thoughts below. Another pretty funny story going on in the gaming world is Rockstar Games selling pirated copies of their own game to people on Steam. What a crazy world we live in. Now, we can set aside the legality of this for a second, because I don't really care that like a company was pirating their own game or whatever technically and selling cracked copies. But there is something wrong with this, and it's not what you would expect. A lot of games like to implement anti-pirating tech into their games, and basically, whenever you launch this cracked copy, it'll fuck with you in any way that the developer thought would be really funny. It'll cause memory leaks, or whenever you pick something up, it'll get launched across the room or disappear, and you can't, beat the game, pretty much. And, it's all good fun, We love doing a little bit of trolling. And this results in them getting a buggy, broken game that is fucking with them because it is detecting that it's a cracked game, and they can't even, beat the product that they purchased on the Steam store. I don't even know how you managed to do this, but someone's probably getting fired. These are really old games, though, so I don't know how much care and thought they're going to put into patching these things up. At the moment, it is really terrible that you're selling a game for full price, but it's actually straight up broken. I don't know how it's even legal, to be honest, but if I had to guess, they're just going to try and patch out the, effects that happen to the cracked copy rather than, getting rid of the cracked copy, because it's Rockstar Games and, AAA companies love their Band-Aid fixes instead of actually fixing problems. Let me know what you guys think. Should Rockstar Games go to jail? Should GTA 6 be canceled over this? I'll let you be the judge. Anyway, Thank you guys for watching, and as always, I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.